Hello everybody, welcome back to Leading Our Own Way. I'm Andrew White and I hope you've had a great weekend and I hope you're ready for a brand new week ahead here in January 2026. We're a few weeks in now, but I hope it's been a good one so far and I hope you've been catching up with everything you might have missed from Leading Our Own Way. First of all, look, I believe that every single one of us, I really do, I think we have the power to create our own path. That's partly why the podcast exists. I believe that we can break free from what holds us back and step into the life we're meant to live. But you know what? Here's the truth. Leading our own way starts with understanding yourself, your brain, and your story, the environment that you create around you. Today, I'm joined by Vanessa Tavares, a neurofeedback specialist who's dedicated her life to helping people, especially neurodivergent individuals, help them unlock their potential through understanding how the brain actually works. We're diving into the intersection of personal development, education, and neuroscience, exploring how the spaces we create shape the learning and growth that happens within them. Vanessa shares incredible insights about why collaboration between parents and educators is essential and why teaching kids about their own brain health might be the most transformative lesson they've never received in school. That's something in particular that I'm very passionate about. The conversation is for anyone who's felt like traditional approaches might not work, just doesn't work for you, your kids, or for the people you lead. Because what Vanessa reveals about creating environments where everyone can thrive, it might just change everything you thought you knew about learning as well. Anyway, here's Vanessa and myself for part one. We've got to part one and part two this week, so here we are. Here's a little trailer. Here's Vanessa. Don't forget to please follow the show and give us a review. Welcome to Leading Our Own Way. I'm your host, Andrew White, and this is the podcast that unveils captivating narratives of resilience and personal triumph. This podcast is for anyone seeking inspiration and insights on overcoming life's challenges. Follow and subscribe, and then we can lead together forever. Before we dive in, I want to give a big, massive shout out to our now new proud sponsor, Eshu Skincare, a brand that truly aligns with Leading Our Own Way. This Australian-born company is dedicated to keeping skincare simple, effective, and straightforward. They've made waves in the US, even landed in Macy's and over 300 stores, and now they're back with a renewed focus on healthy skin and real results. If you want authentic skincare that fits your lifestyle, check them out in the show notes. Thanks to Eshu Skincare for supporting real stories and mental fitness on Leading Our Own Way. And if you're interested in sponsoring like Eshu Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to connect. Vanessa Tavares, all the way over from Perth, Western Australia. Welcome to Leading Our Own Way. How are you today?
I am very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I feel very welcome to be here.
That's how I like all my guests to feel. I love that you feel welcomed. It's such an honour. We've been talking for quite some time now, haven't we, Vanessa?
Yes, we do. We did. Yes.
And we have something quite in common. With all people should be able to tell, with all the books around me, I've kind of fallen in love with the brain in the last 3-4 years. That's something we kind of quite align with, really, I guess, don't we?
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of similarities there. I love all your books that you read in the back there and how you actually developing all of these learning as you're reading. So pretty good.
Is there any books that you recognise maybe and have maybe read?
Some of them on the back there. I think the one on the left.
This side?
Yes, I have read one of those.
Which one have you read, do you think?
The one on the left side. Down. So,
this way?
Start with a Y.
Oh, this one down here. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. How do you rate it? Did you like it?
I've actually not read that one yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've not read Simon Sinek's Start With Why yet. I know a lot about Start With Why because I've watched a lot of things, but I've actually not read that book yet. I'm not onto him. I'm working my way through. I've read maybe 70%, but then I get in trouble, you see, because I buy all these fantastic books and I'm very slowly still getting through the other ones, but I still go and buy more.
That's good. I've seen that you've got your own book on the back as well. Right?
I do. How to Lead with Purpose. Yeah.
Yes, I haven't read that one, but I will definitely have a look into it.
I'll try and send you a copy. I need to buy a batch, so when I do, I'll send you over a copy. No problem.
Yeah, that'd be
It's
amazing.
boring anyway. Yeah. No, I'm joking. Me and Mike put our blood, sweat, and tears into that book over 2 years, and it just stems from. It doesn't really. It does. It stems from some of our journey of workplace
Yeah.
toxicity. The impacts of leadership on people's lives if they're not, as opposed leading with purpose. But I've said many times on the podcast, if I wrote a book again, and if I knew what I know now, I probably would write a book of how to live with purpose before anyone can go and lead with purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Oh,
So
the effort that you put in, that's cool.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
it. And
good.
that book kind of just made me realize I like to talk. So let's do the podcast.
Funny things you find out as you're reading. You probably find things about yourself or things that you could be implementing it. So that's pretty effective, I guess.
Again, the
Good.
plot of the podcast, right? I
Yes,
want people to take
amazing.
pieces of me and pieces of you, the guest, and put it into their own life. That's why we're here tonight.
Thank you.
Lovely. Well, Vanessa, thank you for joining me on Leading Our Own Way. Thank you for joining me on my journey. It's an honor to have you here, and I can't wait to dig deep. Where I usually start, I really love sharing positive journeys. We do go into some, so as you can imagine, some of the guests that we have been through some really difficult times, some dark journeys, some bring in a wealth of knowledge with, science and whether it's a neuroscientist, whether it's a neurologist. I've had Amelia Phillips on the show, who's from the Today Show, is the dedicated science, nutrition and exercise scientist on the Today Show. She has her own business that she went out a couple of months ago. Neuroscientist Paul Taylor. I bring in these people with loads of science experts, and I just love it. Knowledge, sorry, absolutely love. But I still try and intertwine it with their personal journey as well. And that's kind of why you're here, because I know we've got a lot in common in that regard, and you do have a little personal journey that we're going to discuss as well, and that's why we're here. But if we could start by sharing how you're leading your own way, tell us a little bit about how you would consider you do that.
Um, how am I considering doing leading my way? I guess I can start with bringing the power of learning and helping people to learn more about themselves. And as you mentioned, like there is a lot of people who love to understand this topic more in depth, and especially after COVID, I think a lot of people really had the time to think about themselves and think on how they can improve things about themselves. And that is, for me, my absolutely leading my way at the moment is that I would like people to learn about themselves more, because we are constantly learning and growing with the environment that we actually living in. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, great. And so the people that are coming to you, what type of people come to see you, and what for then?
Yeah. So my business is basically focused on clients who are neurodivergent. It could be autistic, it could be schizophrenic. I've got some complex cases in one area of my field of work. But when it comes to neurofeedback, it's more focused on post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and ADHD. So it's just two different services that I currently provide. One is basically more focused with for people of disability, and the other one is for people who is not in the disability sector, but also navigating changes in their lives and yeah, just how they're adapting within the environment.
Yeah. So on the opposite ends of the spectrum, then, what can you give us an example of what would you consider extreme case that you would deal with, and then something that would be on the other end as minor but still needs to be addressed or discussed, or just somebody coming for some form of whether it's a little bit of advice. What would those opposites?
Yeah, so in one
Go?
side of the services, when I'm providing services for people with more extreme, I could be looking at people with brain injury, for instances,
Yeah.
and they have severe brain impairments. And my job is to basically adapt the environment and teach people on how you can develop communication skills, on how that person can develop social skills, and how the multidisciplinary team can actually work together to help that individual to actually thrive. In the sense that I think in comparison to a lot of countries. I'm from Brazil, and we don't see a lot of people with disability in Brazil. We don't have a lot of the resources that have this implementation of things in terms of how they're going to adapt it into the environment, how people learn differently, and how they can actually do things in a different way. And although being classified, that they can continue to have a life, to the point that they're happy with as well. That's one side. And the other side, when it comes to neurofeedback, there would be patients with post-traumatic stress disorder. Some of them have had injury from works compensation side, where some of them are actually here traveling. Like, I've worked with a couple of clients who were from Colombia. So they arrived here, they have no idea how the system works. And then suddenly they do a little bit of sessions with the psychologist, but it gets to a point that there is no other intervention they can actually provide other than self-talk interventions. And that's when neurofeedback comes in handy, where we can then develop protocols for people to be able to build new neurons and adapt into the changes of their life. So these people are more like conscious people. They kind of know what's sort of happening to them, where on the other side, the case studies for more complex people, it's more like environmental adaptations and what they can learn within the environment.
Yeah. So with the topic reoccurring frequently within Leading Our Own Way around the brain, people are starting to latch on and fall in love with the brain a little bit more. I hope,
Yeah.
and some of the comments that I get are that we'd love to dig a little bit deeper into it. You've just mentioned some terms like neurofeedback. So for those who are wondering what neurofeedback is, how could you say that as a basic level of what that?
Yeah, so neurofeedback basically works on neurogenerations of the neurons, so neurogenesis.
Yep.
So when we create protocols for people to improve certain reward systems, the neurofeedback, they pretty much like we put sensors in the brain, sensors on the brain, and they don't actually hurt. It is actually non-invasive as well, and it has been studied for many, many years. And those electrodes, they actually listen to your brain activity. It's kind of like a microphone listening to the voices of your brain. And then you get to watch a movie, and while you're watching the movie or playing this game on the screen, the brain is actually trying to adapt into these changes by either being calm, focused, and sometimes the movie that you're watching might turn off, and the brain starts to work harder to find out how can I keep, because the screen shuts off and gets darker. So the brain starts to work harder to kind of solve this problem by themselves. And that's when they get the reward and the screen turns up again. So it's all these changes that are occurring with your brain, and it has specific protocols, the frontal lobe, the prefrontal cortex. So they all work in separate measurements towards the sessions. And a session normally lasts about some people do 36 sessions, some people do 28, but we recommend the minimum would be 28 sessions.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I've never heard of that before. That's amazing. And so neurogenesis, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but neurogenesis obviously it's not obvious. I hate when people use that word. It's not obvious. But it becomes a habit, doesn't it?
For us.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know if it is. Neurogenesis is obvious. Did it then? Neurogenesis is the development of a neural pathway, isn't it? The embryonic brain cell creating a new pathway. That's a lot harder for us adults to go through, isn't it? But it's a little bit easier for children, let's say, to develop, go through neurogenesis, because purely of where the stage of the brain development is.
Yes.
Not impossible for adults, is it? It's still very much doable, but just a lot more effort, focus, and attention required. Is that right?
Exactly. And the side effects as well for adults might be different. So, you know, depending of the age group and the association they have, they may have flashback memories, they may have dreams, but all of that, then when a client returns to the session and they actually mention what sort of went through after the session, it's our job to actually adapt the brain again, readapt the brain again, so you know they're receiving the right feedback and making sure that their brain is calm. And for children as well, like they, you know, sometimes they get to be overly excited after the sessions, or they get a little bit silly. But then as a practitioner, you kind of observe those patterns, and on the next session, then we kind of readjust those protocols to be able to improve the client's concentration, focus, and hyperactive behaviors as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, the neurogenesis is basically the connection of new neurons. And I think with over these couple of years, like the research has just been extremely huge on these things of developing new neurons. And as a behavior support practitioner, providing the services for people with disability, there is lots of evidence about how the environment actually helps you to thrive, you know, and how that actually changes your neuron pathways. The fact that you come home and you've got a calendar and you can follow instructions if you're autistic. And if you've got a communication board, not just with behavior support, but also a speech pathologist, children can actually develop certain communication. It's not the same as our communication. It might be verbal, it might be based on behavior, pulling the hair and things like that, but there is a communication.
Yeah.
So building those environment actually develop new pathways of neurons.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And I was reading Dr. Tara Swart's book. I don't know if you know who Dr. Tara Swart is, the neuroscientist, and she said, I was going to ask you the question, if you and I were going to go and work hard and create some new neural pathways, how would we do that? But one of the things I read was eating dark-skinned food and exercising is two simple ways to develop neurogenesis.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but is that right?
Yeah. People with disability, for instance, they have a lot of referrers for people who are exercise physiologists, and the improvement of them just by doing exercise physiology exercises and routines improve the way that they're thinking and building neural pathways. It's also a way of, you know, giving you dopamine. And a lot of these people navigate several other, it's never really just one diagnose. You know, these people also would have depressive moments, anxiety moments, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder moments if they had suffered from a fall, and so on and so forth. So I think that is one of the things that you can certainly learn and adapt, especially with the exercises. Yeah.
She brought up, I thought it was quite interesting with the
that's correct.
The dark skinned food. She said instead of eating strawberries, not that you shouldn't eat strawberries because they're still very good for you, but like the darker version of a strawberry would be a blueberry, for example, and it's obviously in the top 5. It's in the top 5 brain food categories, blueberries, and it's something to do with the antioxidants that are in the lining of the dark skin within that food, and how they help the development of creation of neural pathways. And I mean, we know exercise allows you to double increase your mitochondria in your body as well, which is fascinating. I absolutely love the idea of that. I need to exercise more. I'll have loads of battery packs in my body, in my cells. Something I do to develop, because I've noticed in the last, and I've been teaching for some time now, and I've definitely noticed in the last 8 years, I know we blame it on COVID, but I do think it's really more aligned with maybe the development of, you know, devices that we use, lack of movement, the way we sleep now. Kids don't really sleep anymore. They might fall asleep, but whether they're going through all the sleep cycles in a healthy way based on, you know, the rubbish that they're eating that day, the lack of exercise, etc., etc. But at schools now, when I go into schools, I actually teach them a bit of a code, a pointless code, a meaningless code. And I'll say it out here for people to. I actually did a reel on it about 3 months ago. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I've been teaching them about neurogenesis, the synapses connections, the firing and wiring of when they're learning something new, and then the myelination stage.
Yes.
So when they're, through repetition, effort, focus, attention, it's beginning to myelinate. I give examples through, there was a point that we wasn't able to walk at one point, and through our developmental stages, crawling, seeing something we want, finding and figuring a way out to get to it. I think you know what I mean, going from a baby to a toddler and so on. But there was a point that we couldn't walk. We had to learn it, and then we began to do all of those stages and then myelinate it. So myelination is obviously the myelin going over the neural pathway, kind of making it not concrete, but segmenting that skill. So walking, you and I don't think about it, it's myelinated. And I explain that in a very simple term for the kids to understand in a nice, fun way. And, all the kids focus on me. When I'm going through these discussions, they're all focusing on me. I'm not saying I'm the best teacher or anything, but they're focused and they're listening because, one, it's different. Two, they like the challenge. But I explain to them, this is pointless. No teacher should teach you anything pointless, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to break the rules. And I give them a code. And I say it 3 times. And I say to them, I'm going to mess up your head all day. And I'm going to interrupt the learning. I'm going to ask you to repeat the code. And I'm going to prove to you, you can do anything you want if in this world, when you're older, now, whenever, even when it's boring, you can put your mind to it if you choose to. And I give them the code and I say it 3 times. I'll do it now. Lara 5610 #, full stop. Number 2, second time. Lara 5610 #, full stop. Third and final time. Lara 5610 #, full stop. I don't know, people who are listening, can they say that again? Vanessa, I'm messing up your head on purpose now. Can you remember that?
You changed the purpose of your podcast now.
No, we talk about it. I talk about this a lot. I've discussed this many months ago. But, I mean, can you remember that code?
Lara, gosh, I probably needed to write it down. Hang on, I wasn't writing it down. I wasn't a good student.
No, that's cheating.
Lara 5610 #.
One more thing.
What is it?
Full stop.
Full stop. Oh, no.
I'll ask you at the end of the episode.
Oh, no, I've got to remember the full stop.
Hey, if the preps can remember it, you can remember it,
I'm
Vanessa.
sure. You're making me sweat now. Like, oh, my neurons are creating new pathways.
Yep, they're firing and wiring together, baby.
They're firing, creating a phonological loop of memories.
Love it. Absolutely.
Apparently, we can all remember 7 numbers as well. There is this thing that people do study to do assessments as well.
Wow.
Just testing how what is their memory and retention of memory.
Yeah.
And it's really important as well when you're learning and you're adapting your learning. Like, you don't want to be a student who's going to have to remember 20,000 words, but you can only remember 2 or 3, right? Yeah. But as you said, you can learn. You can learn if you put a mind on it. And I actually love that you mentioned that, because you can. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel like I'm on the right path to it. Yeah. But obviously there's many other variables we could bring into that. And I do discuss sleep with them when I teach them about the brain and the cycles through the night and how to set themselves up in a healthy way for sleep, how to come out of sleep in a healthy way. And they find it fascinating. I sometimes, depending on the age, I might go into the mitochondria and, talking about ATP and all the different stages of which we turn into, diphosphate and then monophosphate into adenosine, which knocks us off sleep at night. And when I bring that up, they're all fascinated by it. Absolutely fascinated. And that tells me we should be teaching kids about sleep. We should be teaching them about mitochondria and cells and nutrition and exercise, because then we're giving them the baseline to not be optimal, but a chance to be optimal. But we're all living what the basic human needs. Just the basic. But and I was saying to you before we started, we're so far below the basic. We're so in deficit of where we want to find our balance, that homeostasis balance. We're so far behind because of lack of sleep, the ultra processed foods that we're eating. And now I think the stats are something like we spend 97% of our time indoors, whereas many, many, many years ago we would spend 85% of our time outdoors. I mean, that might be thousands of years, but to me, that is concerning. And I feel like that's where we need to reverse all of this.
Yes.
Decline in our cognitive decline and our mental health. And I feel this is the root of our mental health crisis that we go through.
Yes.
I could be wrong, and I'm not an expert, but it's my feel, it's my observational evidence, and it's then putting it all together with these amazing books that I read, and then obviously tuning in with all the guests that I meet. And I still come to the common conclusion of that, and parents don't want to be told how to parent, but we're happy to teach and force curriculum down these kids' throats of maths and writing. It's super important. Absolutely. Yes. I'm not saying that. But if we're not giving them the basics, how can they learn? Just taking a very quick break to thank our sponsor, Eshu Skincare. If you haven't heard of them, Eshu Skincare started right here in Australia, using Australian ingredients to make skincare straightforward and accessible, especially for men who want results without the fuss. Their journey took them all the way to the US, where they were featured in Macy's and over 300 stores. Now they're back with a fresh approach, focusing on healthy skin and authenticity for everyone. I'm proud to have Eshu Skincare as a sponsor on Leading Our Own Way. See the show notes for their website and to see how you can keep your skin healthy and confident. And if you're interested in sponsoring like Eshu Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Now, right back to the episode.
Yeah.
Simple.
I think the teaching is one of the most fantastic ways that you can implement so many things. If you love what you do in the teaching, it really sounds like you are such a dedicated person when you come to actually teaching people. I feel that one of the, and I kind of agree with you in terms of we also need to help parents to learn that. In my role, I also work with parents where I have to educate them about things that they're not really totally aware of it. And what I find it happens is in the school environment, they learn, they thrive. There's so many people who can actually contribute. And actually, the majority of our children will learn more from the school setting than from home. And I find that a lot of parents kind of lack resources to navigate the children. And when they, rather than going and, hey, what are you doing here? And how I can implement that at home. So in the behavior support field, I also implement that where I'm actually having this assessment directly with the teacher and implementing that with mom directly at home, because then all of that learning can actually be implemented in a one-on-one session at home in the child home environment. And I think it's so much to learn from teachers. They're with your child all day. They learning things in a way that you probably haven't thought, how you could implement this at home. And I think one of the questions I had before my children went to school was what is the best thing I can do as a mother to make sure my kids thrive in the school setting? And a teacher came to me and he said, never argue with the teacher, never question the teacher anything in front of the children, because that actually stops their respect towards the teaching environment. Yeah. And I've taken this lesson forever now. When I have something I want to discuss with the teacher, I go, hi, can we just have a little, conversation? Because a lot of parents as well, they come, why are you doing this to my children? Why? Yep. I've had angry parents there. And I'm like, why are you so upset? So can we move that environment to maybe something that could be more proactive? And I think, as I said, teachers have such a powerful tool right there. And there is a lot that I learned from them. And also bring that to the parent in a different concept as well. Because we can, as you know, we find a lot of parents who are very, not as strict, but they don't really want to replicate anything and don't really believe on the system as well. And so, it's kind of my job as well to do that a little bit in the backside. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because there was a meme many years ago that I noticed, was because back in the 80s, 90s, it was always, not that we should look down at children, I don't mean like this, but there was a meme going around where the parent was stood next to the teacher looking down at the child, but it was implying they're on the same team for the child. But now it's the parent and the child looking down at the teacher. I'm covering up the mic, looking down at the teacher. It was a terrible meme at the same time as looking down, but the idea for what I took from it was more about how the teams aligned, and it's like the families are now against the teacher, and they have the power and the control, where it's really it should be a 3-team effort. You know, the child still has to be accountable, but we've got to teach the child to go to school and be kind, be respectful, listen, but we've got to do our job at home by supplying these children with connection, love, you know, get out, let's play, go and get dirty, give them some good food, make them go to bed at a good time that we know is suitable for them. If we do our job, they will get up in the morning, they will thrive. I mean, we could go deeper and do gene tests and understand what the children should and can't cope with what they're putting in their bodies. I mean, that's a whole new podcast within itself, but I'm happy to go and do that. You know, I've done that for one of my children anyway. So we could go on a big rabbit hole with all of that. Before you said, and it's been coming across my mind and I want to go back to it, you said about being in Brazil versus here in Australia. You said there wasn't many disabilities in Brazil. What did you mean by that? I want to clear that up. When you say disabilities, is it, are you saying they're not, as in, if we bring that homeostasis left of that living in deficit, are you saying they're not living in deficit as much in Brazil? Is that what you mean?
I think it lacks a lot of fundings and resources.
Yeah.
Basically, in Brazil, you don't see as many people of disability on the streets. You know,
why?
Because of the transport, because of the way that the city have been structured as well. It doesn't really allow people for wheelchair, for example, to go to the beach. Not a lot of cities do. I'm from one of the smallest city in Brazil, and it's now growing to that point. They have a lot of the things now, but it's only one portion of Brazil. And because it's such a small city, it actually probably one of the most developed cities. But when you're looking at bigger cities of Brazil, it's very difficult for people to get from A to B when you have certain disability, or you might be looked down, you know. So people are still getting like sort of educated about that because it's not as common as it is here. But people travel here and they go, what's wrong with this country? You know, there's people with so many things and conditions, and I'm like, that is not, it's probably just the same. It's just that it's not as exposed back home. You don't see a lot of people with Down syndrome, for instance. You know, it's not, you know, people don't, it's not as educated in that sense to receive those people, to welcome those people into an environment that's going to be welcome to them. Where here, you know, you go to the beach, they've got a day where they set up beach wheelchair where you can wheelchair all the way to the beach and come back with I've seen a lot of support workers doing that. So there are differences in that sense, and I think of course this is a pretty new country. It's a bit easier to structure things, and my hometown luckily is one of the smallest one, and it has good structures now. But if you're talking about bigger cities in Brazil, that is very very different.
So it's more of an infrastructural issue opposed to those people do exist, though. You just don't see them out as much because they don't have... Right, I got you.
Yes.
I was thinking from a different angle. There wasn't as many people with disabilities, meaning they I don't know, they eat well or they don't have as many accidents. That's how I thought you meant.
Yeah, there are some research about how a lot of psychologists have made researches in terms of what country people actually... how they can live for longer. And then they've done this research about certain things and food that they eat. I can't recall the name of the city from the back of my head. But yeah, they've done research on what are the main things people need for survival. And there's a small village, you know, people are planting their own food and kind of leading their own life there. And it seems to be one of the things that are pretty basic, but it gets them more fitter and more healthier as they get older.
Yeah. Again, if you've read the book Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia, he talks about people... I've got it actually written down here, believe it or not. And it's talking about, he labels the 4 horsemen, and 2 out of the 4 are 100% preventable, and the last number 3 and number 4 are quite preventable. but sometimes you can be dealt a bad hand, let's say. But the first one is cardiovascular disease as number one horseman. Metabolic disease is the second one. The third one is cancer. And the fourth one is, obviously what we're talking about, the neurodegenerative, I can't say it, the neurodegenerative diseases. I'm not saying it right, but you know what I mean. All of those four horsemen are highly preventable. And Amelia Phillips, that I had on back in mid-October, she was saying that we can now prevent cancer by, the studies show it about 61%. They've done big, huge meta-analysis, a beautiful study. She explains it so much better than me. But she said, in the first time in 30 years, our age expectancy has gone down. Whereas if you look at the centenarians who are living above 100 years old, that they're going up in Australia at a rate at 6% every year. And those people who are living above 100 are avoiding the four horsemen. So those 2 points contradict themselves. So it's basically saying, if you're going to get one of the four horsemen, your expectancy goes down. But if you're avoiding the four horsemen, you're going to live well.
Yeah, which is
above 100.
That's the goal that I think all these researchers are probably trying to contribute as well. But it has also, I found a little bit of research about statistically how by 2050, between 2040 and 2050, how we'll have a lot of more older people than actually children. There is this huge evidence, where they're estimating roughly that people are not having as many children, so it's statistically significant. We're going to have older people more than younger people.
That's fascinating.
It's fascinating, yeah. I can send you a link about that, but it was like a fascinating research where they can predict that. And a lot of people would agree and others don't. I mean, it's always, this thing is always agreeable, but based on the evidence that they already can provide, it's kind of it's fascinating, and people are just focusing now about themselves, on how to be healthier and how to learn about themselves. And then it's kind of like having a child into this world is kind of like, am I ready? And then it delays later and later to the eventually not having children. So
it's so true. And I mean, I'm in education and I see children coming in every year, but you're so right. Those topics and those conversations do come up a lot more than I ever remember. Please send us that link, because any links that you want me to put in the show notes regarding your business as well, I'll put them in the show notes so people can obviously look at what you do, connect with you if need be, and obviously look at your social media if that's where you want people to go to as well. But any studies that you have, I'm happy to put them in as well. On that note then, I know you've discussed what you do, but what are and I've got them here, but I'd like you to say the name of your businesses so we know where to look.
Yeah. So the name of my business is Synaptic Link.
Yep. I love that, by the way.
Yes. Which has a lot to do with the synapses and the myelination in the neurons. And I provide services, as I mentioned, for disability sector as well as non-disability related, like NDIS clients or non-NDIS clients. Counseling, behavior support, and neurofeedback. These are the main areas and the goals that I have been working alongside.
Beautiful. Love it. So, and that's how you're leading your way in a very professional way. And we've obviously brought a lot of science in there, and I told you we would go off on one, and I love it. But many discussion points around how you lead your own way, personally, emotionally, mentally, and physically. What do you do to prepare yourself, whether it is at a neuro pathway level, whether it is at a fitness level? What do you do on a daily basis to set yourself up for being successful and for thriving to live to 100? What is it that you do?
Yeah, so one of the things that I kind of go by is the exercise. It's basics, but I can't live without exercise. Like, I have to constantly, once a week or once a day, make myself walk, be in the sun, have contact with nature. I love a lot of hiking and being in contact with nature as well. Practicing all this, yoga and meditation. They're really, really good for for your brain function, and to clear your head. Some people feel a bit bored, you know. It's again like a new habit. If people have a very active and full on life, to transition into like the meditation habits, it's a completely different environment again, where they have to learn. Some people like fast pace and others don't, but yeah, I like to mix a little bit. Like, I do love the exercise. I do Muay Thai, I do Pilates. These are the two things I go by: Muay Thai and Pilates. And yoga and meditation. And obviously try to eat as healthy as I can.
What would be a typical plate then? If I came to your house, had dinner, what would I see on your plate then?
Lots of veggies,
Folate.
rice and beef. Like, I am definitely not. I love a recipe every now and then, but for me, I like the basics of food. You know, I like to cook things that I can have access to. Like, I'm not big on making recipes. I'm from Brazil. We eat rice, we eat a lot of beans, we eat salad, and we eat beef. So these are the things that I kind of keep it on my menu, and they're not hard to make. I don't need to follow a step-by-step guide. I find that there was a little bit of a difference between culturally, you know, like where I think even perhaps to yourself, where, you know, you kind of like that menu, like that different food and different variety. But for me, I am quite boring with my food, I must admit.
No, come on.
But
Be
I
hard
try
on
to do my
yourself.
best when I've got guests, you know. Um, and yes, I think one of the things as well that I have accommodated to help to be in a healthier way is obviously doing a lot of like reading about topics that I want to improve, either about myself or about my children, or, you know, doing a little bit of just exercise in general. So like basics exercise at home. But yeah,
Yeah. What do you
it's
think about? I know we discussed last time something I'm quite passionate about, and I'd like to think I started it before it became, fashionable. But what do you think of cold plunges and heats and saunas and things like that?
yeah, I do practice that at least once a week.
Yeah,
Mainly for like, because I worked in this in the mental health industry, it can be quite draining and tiring. So I find it that I need to allocate that time for myself, and I
yeah,
call that a little bit of self-care, the combination of having your body in a place where you having to practice your breathing, and then transitioning to the cold plunge. Obviously, WA, it's very, very hot. In summertime, it's a little bit more difficult to practice, but it has become a huge thing at the moment. I don't know how it is up your way, but over here, you go to the beach and they've got saunas all over the beach in
wow,
WA. Yes.
no way.
Yeah, so people actually go to the sauna and go to the beach. So they go to the sauna and they go to the beach. Yeah, it's a huge thing here in WA.
Wow. So, don't you go to the beach for the heat and the
I know,
cool?
right? Yeah, but in winter it's actually really good because you don't have to be in the
Yes.
cold plunge. Some people don't like the cold plunge kind of
Mm.
feeling, and they can just go to the ocean and return.
See that what you
Yeah,
just said there, they don't
fascinating.
like that cold feeling. That's what we need to get comfortable though, right? We
Yes,
need to get comfortable
yes,
with the uncomfortable, and that's what builds
exactly.
resilience and retention and focus and clarity and mental strength as well.
Yes,
And that's the reason why I did it. And there's so many other benefits. It could be for losing weight. Not, I mean, I'm quite a skinny dude, but even losing weight can be a
yeah,
part of your cold plunges as well. I know there's some science behind that, but don't quote me on that because I'm not an expert necessarily in losing weight
yeah,
through the cold plunges. But it's something to do with the cold shock proteins that get released
yeah,
and scour the body to kill free radicals as well. But
yeah,
it does burn fat a lot quicker. Um,
yeah.
but
I
cold
think
plunges really are,
it's
are, are
great. It
amazing.
helps regulate your sympathetic nervous system. You know, if you really
Yeah,
think about it, we constantly fight or flight. Like, we
yeah,
constantly on the go. You've got a calendar, you've got to reach to this, and you've got kids, and you've got school, and then suddenly, you don't realize, but you reach to a point that you're going, okay, that's a lot to me. And I
yeah.
think if you can mix that a little bit, having a little bit of time to yourself with the cold plunge and the sauna helps to regulate your sympathetic nervous system as well. where
And
it's,
your
the height is
thermogenesis as well.
like the,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I think after something like 2.5 to 3 minutes, there's no science to suggest anything above 3.5 minutes is more beneficial than, doing the
Mm,
3 minutes. But there's something about 2.5 minutes or something. I can't remember the stages. I've got it written down somewhere. But your body goes through that thermogenesis as well, where you start to, your body heat starts to regulate. And that's fascinating that you can get through
yes.
that and control your whole
Mm,
system and take control of it in a really positive
yeah.
way. I used to struggle. I mean, some of my friends who, if they listen to this, they will know I used to, stress if it upset somebody, if I'd said the wrong thing, I'd lose sleep. I'd have to phone back and, over apologize and, oh my God, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. But I've really come to, I suppose I've become far more secure with myself and confident, but at the same time, understand myself as a flawed person where needed. But I noticed through doing cold plunges, I would be, reflecting at night, or could be in the shower, and I'd be thinking about the day, and I'd
Mm,
go, the old Andy would have stressed about that moment. I didn't stress in the moment. It's through
mm,
my self-reflection later on
mm,
at the
mm.
night, and I go, oh my God, the old Andy would have freaked out. Why didn't he freak out? And I do believe, obviously, changing of the food, getting rid
Yes.
of sugar, cold plunges took. And I do believe the majority of it was the cold plunges, but that mental strength, I just noticed things rolling off my back.
Yeah. It
Can't
also
prove
helps you
it, but
to kind of question your reality, because everything is adjustable. Like you in the water and you get it really cold, and suddenly it's not that cold anymore,
no.
which means your body, your mind can reach to a threshold of going, hang on a minute, it's not that cold. What I was thinking about that, and then you start to really reflect on that as
Yeah.
well. Sometimes it's
That's when I splash.
yeah.
Get it cold.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great habit.
I think so. And going back to what you said before about being in Perth, in Melbourne, it does get pretty cold in the winter. So I don't need to cool my spa down. I mean, I don't heat it anyway, but it's around 5-6 degrees. And in the summer, the earth is a lot hotter here. So it sits at around 18-20, which
Mm.
doesn't benefit me at all. But in the winter, in the next month or so, that water won't benefit me anymore. And I'll probably just have to deal with the cold water I can get from the cold shower, or go to the cold plunge centre, which is 5 minutes down the road. But,
Mm.
if you keep spending money on it, it just adds up.
Yeah.
And I can't really afford $4,000 to go and buy a cold plunge either. But
No, unless you
maybe
get a
one day.
fridge, get an old fridge.
I was thinking that, yeah, the
All
old
your mates
freezers
will come
actually.
around.
Yeah, I know, right?
You have a line in the backyard.
I could earn a fortune. Um,
And suddenly you've got a brand new sauna. Hang on, where did you get that money from?
yeah, you guys.
Making business.
Yeah, that's it. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's beautiful. So, I mean, where do we go now? So, where it was probably more you then now. You've also studied other things as well, haven't you, in your life? Some of the things that you've done quite a lot in terms of study. What are
I
some of
did,
those?
yes. So my background is criminal psychology. So I studied criminal psychology, focusing on criminal behavior.
Hmm.
And then I did a post graduate study in neuro brain cells, neuropsychology, and that on top of that, the neurofeedback training. In terms of working with clients who has a forensic background, I've also had experience with that. It is a field that it's workable, but it requires a lot of teamwork and people who are collaborating a lot more frequent in order to implement anything when someone is actually released from prison. But it is doable. There is a lot of participants in forensic background who has the NDIS fundings, and they find the right provider who can actually help them to navigate, what are the things that are triggering them and how they can thrive in an environment. Because if you really think about it, they don't know anything different. Sometimes it's just what they know. And then helping them to navigate that. It's very more complex, a lot more complex cases. But there are also clients with forensic background. I particularly don't currently work full time with them, but that I have had worked around people with forensic background as well.
What's
I
your
love both.
favorite?
I think one of my favorites are more family family and children. That's my mainly focus, and most of my clients in my niche are family oriented and child focused. I find that through that, I can actually create some similarities with the parents. I'm a parent as well, so we kind of get things that are concerning. I think after speaking to a parent, there are things that I take a very serious considerations in terms of what the child needs learning and how I'm going to progress with their planning. But yeah, my focus, it's my niche, definitely children and parents and family. I love that. And I think, again, when it comes to, you go to education system, everything, if you find a nice teacher who they can thrive, but then they find a therapist who can also thrive there and help educate the parent a little bit, that's when I kind of come a little bit handy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. I love that mixed environment and looking at things in a different way, from parent to teachers, teachers to child. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
So in your in your bringing your life experience into it, your parent experience, and then your professional experience, and if you could put them all together and kind of dig into it, what do you think has dramatically changed as opposed, because we both work with children as well, what do you think dramatically changed? Why has things changed dramatically in the last 10 years with the increase of, I don't know, ADHD, all of those type of topics? What do you think it is? Well, there we go. End of part 1 here with Vanessa. Her insights into how our brain works and how we can create better environments for learning are truly powerful. But here's what you need to know. In part 2, Vanessa opens up about her personal journey from Brazil to Australia, the daily practices that transformed her life, and why understanding ADHD and neurodivergence isn't just important, but is also essential for our future. You're not going to want to miss part 2. Please come back. Please give us a share, give us a follow. And I think we're going to learn a lot in this episode. It's an amazing conversation, and we go deep and we intertwine her personal journey into why. And now we're going to know why she does what she does, her purpose. Join us on Wednesday for part 2, and Tuesday Truths are coming as well. Enjoy. Join us tomorrow to hear more from today's incredible guests and learn valuable insights to help you lead your own way. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then.